yoga. I'm hoping you can hear my voice because I want to hear this music and I'm not talking any louder than this. I'll just turn it down a notch. Alright, for this practice, you might need a block or two, a blanket, a pillow, a meditation cushion, any of those items. Water, tea, whatever makes you feel good during your practice. Incense, candles, just going ahead and setting your space, getting your body and your mind ready for this practice today. When you have all of your items together, or maybe you're not using any props today, you can go ahead and meet me on your mat in an easy pose, maybe just grounding your sit bones into the earth or on your prop. This is an hour-long vinyasa flow. We'll do a little bit of breath work and meditation at some point. And yeah, today let's just have a nice flowing practice. Maybe it's the last flow of your 2021, so let's make it count. Maybe you'll flow about 8 more times. I don't really know your life, but thank you for sharing your life with mine today during this practice. So coming to ground your sit bones deeply into whatever is supporting them. Curling your tailbone so that it's pointed straight down towards the earth. Forearms can be faced up towards the sky, palms facing the sky as well. Or you can have your palms facing the earth, resting on your knees. Shoulders relaxed away from your ears, creating some space across your chest. You can inhale your arms or shoulders up to your ears. Exhale, rolling them down the back, feeling those shoulder blades squeeze together, creating space in your chest and an opening in your upper back. Noticing if you're holding on to any tension. Inhaling deeply into those areas of the body that need prana the most. Feeling and noticing the breath traveling through your body. You can take a couple neck circles, so tucking your chin into your chest, feeling that expansion and lengthening of the back of your neck. Rolling your right ear to your right shoulder, feeling that stretch on the left side of your neck and your shoulders.
You deserve skincare.
Continuing to breathe, rolling your neck so that the back of your head is touching your upper back. Bringing your left ear to touch your left shoulder. Coming back to a tucked chin. Shoulders still drawing down your back, chest still open, creating that expansion. Taking more neck circles in the same direction. Breathing into each part of your neck.
You have choices. For over 20 years, polished
taking one more circle.
Debunking the myths.
Stopping with your chin tucked into your chest.
Because beauty.
Reversing your direction, chin tucked into the chest. Rolling your left ear to touch your left shoulder. Back of the head comes to touch your upper back. Right ear making contact with your right shoulder. Chin back to center. Taking those circles, still lengthening through the spine. Sitting up tall. One more circle, finish whatever round you're on. Coming back to your chin tucked into your chest. Slowly lift your gaze. Bringing your underneath part of your neck parallel to the earth. We can go ahead and place your left palm down on the mat, fingertips pointed towards the short edge of your mat to your left. Inhaling your right arm up, lengthening it up and over your head, opening your ribs up to the sky, inhaling deeply. Exhaling, bringing your right palm back down to the mat, fingertips pointed towards the right short edge of your mat. Inhale your left arm up, lengthening up overhead, opening your chest, your ribs to the sky. Breathing in deeply to that left side body. Exhaling, bringing your left palm down to touch the mat. Once again, moving to the right side, extending your right arm up and over, opening your ribs up to the sky. Inhaling, exhaling, expanding deeper. Inhaling again, Exhale, bring your right palm down to the mat. One more round. Inhaling your left arm up, lengthening, opening up your ribs to the sky. Inhaling to the left. Exhaling, feeling that expansion and the release. Inhaling deeply. Exhale, bring your left palm to touch the mat once again. One more time on the right side. Lengthening your arm up and overhead, opening your ribs up to the sky. Inhaling. Exhaling, feeling that expansion. Inhaling one more time. Exhaling, bringing your right palm touch the mat. Both hands, fingertips grazing the mat. Noticing how the sides of your body feel after some gentle movements, neck rolls. Just tuning into how you feel at the start of your practice today. I invite you to bring your hands to heart center. And maybe you'd like to set an intention for your practice today, whether it be just making it through your day with strength and skill, or practicing one of the yamas or niyamas, maybe just sending some love to your dog, whatever feels right for you. Trusting your intuition, setting that intention for yourself. I'll set the intention of unconditional love, extending unconditional love to myself and being kind and taking care of myself physically as well as mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Hands at prayer center, inhaling to seal the intention. Exhaling, sending it out to the universe. Bringing your hands to rest in your lap. Inhaling deeply, noticing how your spine naturally lengthens, lifting through the belly and the chest. Exhaling, noticing how the belly naturally constricts, belly button pulling closer to your spine. Inhaling, noticing the flow of the breath through your body. Exhaling out of the nose, feeling that release, that constriction. Inhale, feeling the expansion of your belly, maybe your chest and your lungs. Exhaling, feeling the release. I invite you to meet me on all fours in a neutral tabletop position. Lengthening from your tailbone all the way out through the crown of your head. You can do that by tucking in your tailbone, pressing your palms deeply into the mat, feeling that expansion across your chest and in your upper back. Tops of the feet planted into the mat. Feet hip-width distance apart and parallel to the long edges of your mat. Just tuning into this neutral tabletop, noticing what points of your body are pressed into the mat. And we'll do a few cat-cows. Inhaling, lowering your belly to the mat, lifting the chin and chest up to the sky, gazing up, pressing your palms into the mat, not hyperextending your elbows, but softening them. Exhale, rounding the back, pulling your belly button into your spine, tucking your tailbone underneath. Inhaling, lowering the belly to the mat, lifting the chin and chest forward and up, gazing up. Exhale, rounding the back, pulling the belly button towards your spine, tuck your tailbone. Taking some cat-cows at your own pace, lowering the belly on the inhale, rounding the spine on the exhale. Noticing how the breath and the body movement are linked to one another, what sensations you may feel throughout your cat and throughout your cow. What a song, huh? Go ahead and tuck your toes underneath, lift your knees off the mat, raise your sit bones high into the air, pressing back into a downward facing dog. Feeling around in your downward facing dog, maybe pedaling your feet or wagging your tail. Maybe coming up on your tippy toes at the same time, gazing at your toes, feeling that expansion energy running from the palms of your hands out through the soles of your feet, drawing your heels close to your mat, maybe having a slight bend in your knees if needed. Drawing your shoulders down your back, feeling that expansion across your chest. On your next inhale, look at the top of your mat. Step or jump to the top of your mat, exhaling into a forward fold. Grounding soles of your feet deeply into the earth. Raise your body up one vertebrae at a time. Lengthening your arms up overhead. Gaze up at your fingertips. Exhale, coming back to hands at prayer center. Noticing how your body feels after that warm up for the warm up. So now we'll move into our sun salves. Inhaling our hands up, gazing up at our fingertips. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, body at a right degree angle. Plant your hands into the mat, step or jump back into a high plank position. Move through your chaturanga, high plank to low plank, elbows tucked into your sides. Inhaling into your upward facing dog, tops of the feet flat on the mat, shoulders, chin and chest lifted up to the sky, soft elbows. Exhale, tucking your toes, lift your sit bones high into the air, downward facing dog. Take a few deep breaths here. Still moving around in your dog, noticing what feels good, softening your jaw, your eyebrows, releasing tension, being playful with yourself and your body. Gazing ahead of your fingertips, step or jump to the top of your mat, exhaling to a forward fold. Inhaling, lifting up one vertebrae at a time, arms extend up overhead, gazing up at your fingertips. Exhale, hands at heart center. Inhaling your hands up, gaze up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift, flat back. Plant your hands into the mat, step or jump back into a high plank position. Move through your chaturanga, high plank to low plank. Inhaling into your heart opener, chin and chest up to the sky, gazing up, expanding across the chest. Tuck your toes, lift your sit bones high into the air, exhaling into your downward facing dog. Take a few deep breaths here, waking up your body. Coming down into a child's pose. If you'd like some rest, if you went ahead and took that child's pose, meet me in a downward facing dog. Gaze up ahead of your fingertips, step or jump to the top of your mat, exhaling to a forward fold. Option to take opposite elbows and do a ragdoll, swinging your torso back and forth. Option to release everything down to the ground, letting gravity pull your body down. On your next inhale, lift up into a halfway lift, body at a right degree angle, extending from the waist, lengthening the spine. Exhale, forward fold once again. Inhaling, lifting all the way up, root to rise, gazing up at the sky. Exhale, hands at heart center. We'll do one more sun sal and then we'll move into our flow. Inhaling our hands up. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. Plant your hands into the mat, step or jump back into your high plank position. Elbows facing the top edge of your mat, triceps facing back. Move through your chaturanga, high plank to low plank, elbows tucked into your sides. Inhaling into your upward facing dog, chin and chest up, gaze up, tucking your toes, lifting your hips high into the air, exhaling into your downward facing dog. take some deep breaths here. Breathing deeply. And on your next inhale, gaze ahead of your thumbs. Step your right foot next to your right hand. Lower your left knee down to the mat. Bring your torso perpendicular to the earth. Hips and shoulders square towards the top edge of your mat. Top of your left foot can come flat on the mat. Pulling that right knee forward, maybe walking your right toes a little bit closer to the top edge of your mat. Feeling that stretch right in your left thigh and hip, maybe elsewhere. Maybe you feel some of the stretch in your right hip and thigh and leg. Don't know. But to adjust the alignment a little bit, you can, again, have your tailbone pointed towards the earth. Another way to think about it is pulling your pelvic bone forward, curving it forward so that there's alignment from your tailbone out through the top of your head. From here, you can take the palms of your hands and press them into your right thigh, deepening that stretch, gazing ahead. Option to inhale your hands up overhead, taking a slight back bend, activating that Kali Mudra, fingers interlaced, pointer fingers and thumbs pointed outwards, like Charlie's Angels. Grounding yourself through your right foot and your left knee. On your next exhale, bring your fingertips to touch your mat. Adjusting your legs so they're at 90-degree angles. Joints stacked on top of one another, knee over ankles, hips squared, shoulders squared to the front edge of your mat. Hips stacked over your knees. Bring your right palm to your lower back, fingers pointed towards the earth. Extend your left arm up to the sky. Bring the outside of your left hand to the outside of your right knee, twisting at the spine, gazing over your right shoulder. Breathing here, inhaling deeply, exhaling, sinking deeper into the posture. Option to bring your hands to prayer center, hooking your tricep to the outside of your right thigh, pressing that tricep in, keeping your hands at prayer center, gazing up, still over that right shoulder. And for even more of a challenge, you can curl your left toes underneath, lifting your left knee up off the mat. Strong back leg. Inhaling, exhaling, going ahead and lowering that left knee down to the mat if you took that variation. Hands come back to heart center. Bring your palms down to touch the mat. Right knee comes to meet the left in the tabletop position. Tuck your toes. Lift your knees up off the mat. Sit bones high into the air. Exhaling into your downward facing dog. Breathe in here. Gazing between your thumbs. Step your left foot by your left thumb. Lowering your right knee down to the mat. Top of the right foot flat on the mat. Torso comes perpendicular to the earth. Walk your left toes closer to the top edge of your mat. Pulling forward with your knee, keeping your tailbone pointed towards the ground. Hips and shoulders squared towards the top edge of your mat. Press into that left thigh for a deeper stretch. Again, maybe taking that slight back bend. Yogi's choice. Inhaling into the pose. Exhaling, sinking a little bit deeper. On your next inhale, bring your fingertips to touch the mat. Adjust your legs so they're at 90-degree angles, joints stacked on top of one another. Bring your right arm up to the sky. Outside of your right hand comes to the outside of your left knee. Left palm comes to touch your lower back. Twisting at the spine, gazing over your left shoulder. Taking the same variation you took on the other side. If you brought your hands to prayer center, maybe hooking your tricep on the outside of your left leg,
Curling your right toes underneath, lifting up that right knee off the mat, gazing up. I'm gonna take it easy on myself today, but y'all go wild, do whatever you feel. Making sure your legs are at 90-degree angles for this one if you're in the modified twist. Inhaling, exhaling, seeing if you can twist just a little bit deeper, not from the neck, but from the spine and the abdomen, the torso. On your next exhale, bring your palms to the mat. Bring your left foot to meet your right in a neutral tabletop position. Tucking your toes, lifting your sit bones high into the air, exhaling into a downward facing dog. Breathe here. Holding your downward facing dog, gazing in between your thumbs, step your right foot by your right hand, back foot comes to a 45-degree angle pointed towards the top edges of your mat. Lift your torso perpendicular to the earth, feet on opposite train tracks, shoulders and hips squared towards the top edge of your mat. Extending and lengthening up your arms, biceps come behind your ears. Warrior one. Right knee tracking towards your right pinky toe. Alignment from your tailbone out through the crown of your head. On your next inhale, bring your arms to a T position. Back foot comes parallel to the short edges of your mat. Hips and shoulders open up to the long edges of your mat. Gazing over your right fingertips. Warrior two. Inhaling, reverse your warrior. Palm flips up to the sky. Lengthening it up. Opening your ribs up to the ceiling. Sliding that left arm down your back leg. Exhaling, coming back into that warrior two, arms at a T. Imagine someone wrapping a string around your right middle finger, pulling your upper body forward, shifting your body forward. Now bring your right forearm to rest on top of your right thigh. Left arm sweeps in front of your torso, up and over, opening up your chest and ribs to the sky, gazing up, extended side angle pose. Exhaling, coming back into that warrior two. Cartwheel your arms down to the mat. Having both sets of toes pointed towards the top edge of your mat. Walk your right foot closer to the long edge of your mat as we prepare for lizard pose. So what's important in this position is that your knees and your toes are tracking in the same direction. It's perfectly fine if you have your right leg chickened out like this, as long as your knee and your toes are moving in the same direction. So, palms planted into the mat, fingers pointed towards the top edge of your mat, biceps pointing forward, right shoulder tucked into your right knee pit, having your left leg lengthened, toes curled underneath, just moving back and forth, opening up your hips for your lizard pose. Whenever you're ready, you can lower your left knee down to the mat, bringing the top of your left foot flat on the mat. Sinking into the posture. Pulling your toes and knees forward, right toes and knees forward in the same direction. Option to take a block for your forearms, or maybe just coming down all the way onto the mat. Breathing deeply, pulling your chest forward. If you use the block, you can press that out of your way. Palms planted into the mat. Bring your right knee to meet your left in a neutral tabletop position. Tuck your toes underneath. Lift your knees up off the mat, lengthening your legs into a high plank position, moving through your chaturanga, high plank to low plank. Inhaling into your heart opener. Exhaling into your downward facing dog or child's pose. Taking a couple deep breaths here. Noticing if the right side of your body feels any different from the left. If you took the child's pose, everyone can go ahead and meet me in a downward facing dog. Step your left foot by your left thumb, bringing your right foot to a 45-degree angle pointed towards the top edges of your mat. Feet on opposite train tracks, or different train tracks. Extending your torso up perpendicular to the earth, shoulders and hips squared towards the front edge of your mat. Lengthening your arms, bringing your biceps behind your ears into your warrior one. Strong legs, tailbone pointed towards the earth. On your next inhale, opening your arms up to a T position, back foot parallel with the short edges of your mat, hips and shoulders open to the long edges of your mat. Gaze over your left fingertips. Left knee tracking towards that left pinky toe. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Ribs open up to the sky. Exhaling, coming back into that warrior two. Imagine your torso being pulled forward. Once you're about right here, a couple inches ahead, bring your left forearm to rest on top of your left thigh, sweeping your right arm up and over, opening your chest and ribs to the sky into an extended side angle pose. Making sure you're not collapsing in on your shoulders, but keeping that expansion in space open. Exhaling, coming back into a warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down to the mat as we prepare for our lizard pose. Same thing we did on the other side. Toes and knees tracking in the same direction. Left shoulder tight with that left knee pit. Biceps facing the top edge of your mat as well as the fingers. Try rocking back and forth to open up your hips. Bringing that right knee down to the mat, top of your right foot on the mat whenever you're ready. Pulling your chest forward. Breathing in deeply to the pose. Option to use that block for your forearms. Getting that prop out the way, palms come to touch the mat. Left knee meets the right knee in a neutral tabletop position. Curl your toes underneath. Begin to exhale, lifting your sit bones high into the air for your downward facing dog. Gazing up ahead of your fingers. Rolling your body into a high plank. Moving through your chaturanga, high plank to low plank. Inhaling into your heart opener, chin and chest up, gazing up. Curling your toes, lifting your sit bones high into the air, pressing back, exhaling into your downward facing dog. Take 5 deep breaths there. Noticing the breath travel through your body.
For over 20.
Option to come into a child's pose. Arms extended out in front of you for a more active posture. Arms resting at your sides, fingertips pointed towards your ankles for a passive posture. Meeting me in a downward facing dog. Walk your feet towards your hands, coming into a forward fold at the top of your mat. Pressing into your feet, lifting your body up one vertebrae at a time. Hands end up overhead, gazing up at your fingertips. Exhaling, hands at prayer center. We'll go ahead and move into a tree. Planting our right foot deeply into the earth, all 4 corners pressing into your mat, right toes spread. You can have your left toes resting on your mat with your left heel on your right calf. You can have the whole sole of your left foot on your calf, or you can bring your left sole to the inside of your right thigh, yogi's choice. Option to grow your branches up to the sky, gazing up, opening up through the chest. Option to keep your hands at prayer center. Or one of my favorite heart openers is to interlace my fingers behind my back, pulling that fist down to the earth, still having my tailbone facing the earth, chest open to the sky. Maybe finding a drishti, a non-moving object to ground you, growing your roots into the earth. Do I have any Steve Lacy fans here? I'm the biggest one. Holding this position, softening your knee and your joints. We don't want any hyperextension. Releasing your arms at your sides, bringing your left leg to a 90-degree angle, flexing your toes towards your face, lengthen your left leg, bringing it down to the mat. Wiggle out your legs, wiggle out your limbs. I'm not starting this song over because it's my absolute favorite song and most played song of the year. Go ahead and ground all four corners of your left foot into the mat, toes spread, feeling your roots growing down deeply into the earth, because you are a tree right now. Because the only moment that exists is now, and we are trees right now. You can bring your right toes to rest on the mat, heel resting on your left calf. Maybe you bring your sole all the way on your left calf, or if you're feeling spicy, bring the sole of your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. Taking the same arm variation you took on the other side, making sure your hips are in alignment with one another. We don't want one hip jolted out. We want them to be even and square towards me. Breathing here, growing our roots, planting ourselves. Option to close your eyes, seeing if you're still standing. Release your arms at your sides. Bring your right leg to a 90-degree angle. Flex your toes towards your face. Lengthen your right leg, bringing it down to your mat. Wiggle out your limbs. For chair pose, you can have your feet hip width distance apart, or your big toes can come to touch with your heels slightly spread. I'm gonna go with the hip width distance apart foot option, parallel to one another. Imagine that you're sitting in a chair, so you're drawing your sit bones close to the earth behind you, bending at the knees, lengthening your arms parallel to one another. Alignment from your lower back, the base of your spine, out through the crown of your head. You can do this by, again, curving your pelvic bone forward. Rather than having your spine arched like this, having it all straight and aligned, targeting that lumbar curvature. Inhale. Exhale, sink deeper into the pose. Shoulder blades drawing together. Maybe your pinky fingers are reaching for each other energetically. Inhale. Exhaling, sinking a little bit deeper. You got it. Feeling that fire building up in your thighs, in your core, tightening that core. Inhaling. Exhaling, releasing into a forward fold. Letting gravity allow your arms and your neck and your head to dangle. Extending from the waist still. On your next inhale, come into a halfway lift, flat back, body at a right degree. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, roots your rise, hand comes up overhead, gazing up. Exhaling, hands at prayer center. We will do a malasana pose. So if your body is squared towards the top edge of your mat, you can walk both feet so that your toes are pointed in 45-degree angles opposite of each other. Toes slightly hanging off the long edges of your mat. Hands stay at prayer center, tailbone facing the earth, strong legs. We'll lower our sit bones down to our mats, pressing our forearms on the insides of our legs and knees, pulling our chest forward, chin slightly lifted, gazing up just slightly. Feeling that expansion in our hips. Option to take a block, sit it right underneath your tailbone. Just getting the same benefits of this pose. Feeling in, tuning in. It's cool as we can pass. Maybe shifting the weight from one foot to the other. Inside, inside, tell me what's inside. You can go ahead and ditch your prop. And we're gonna go into a crow pose. So if that's part of your practice, you can bring your heels a little bit closer to one another, toes pointed out. Coming on, lifting onto your toes, bring your shoulders as close as you can to your knees, squeezing your knees into your forearms, not your forearms, your triceps, your upper arms, and your upper arms squeezing back. Your palms are flat on the mat, fingertips pointed towards the top edges of your mat. You're gonna have chaturanga arms here. So your arms, we're gonna balance on our arms. They're gonna do a lot of work. You're parallel to one another. Your biceps are facing forward. Triceps are facing the back edge of your mat. Lifting up onto your toes. Strong arms here. Lifting one foot, pulling your body forward, gazing over the top edge of your mat, lifting the other. I absolutely love that. Give me a moment. I feel so accomplished. I think I'm gonna replay this song. Coming out of your crow pose, taking your time. I love Steve Lacy. Somebody introduced me to him. Savages are my type. We're almost the same age. Anyway. Coming out of your crow pose. Fingertips pointed towards the top edge of your mat. On all fours in a neutral tabletop position. Just gathering your breath. If you overextended yourself a little bit like I just did in my crow, just reacclimating yourself to your practice. Maybe taking a few cat-cows, slowing your breath down. We're done moving through our chaturanga, so we'll be pretty close to the mat for the rest of our practice. Starting to activate our parasympathetic nervous systems. Let's focus. Focusing by activating my third eye, gazing at a drishti, engaging my chakras. Anyway, press your body into a child's pose, drawing your sit bones close to your heels, arms extending out in front of you, forehead to the mat. Abdomen resting on the tops of your thighs. Inhaling, rolling your body back up to all fours, joints stacked on top of one another. Curling your toes underneath, lifting your knees off the mat, sit bones raised high into the air, pressing into your downward facing dog. Lift your right leg off the mat into a three-legged dog. Bring your right knee to touch your right elbow. Calf comes parallel to the short edges of your mat. Lengthening through your left leg, top of your left foot flat on the mat for our pigeon pose. Now it's okay if your calf isn't exactly parallel to the short edges of your mat. We just want to do anything we can to protect our knees. So don't overextend yourself here. We want our hips to be even, so if you notice that your right hip is lifted higher than the left, go ahead and place a prop like a block right underneath that so they're even with one another. Walk your palms closer to your hips, expanding through the chest and really feeling that stretch from the outside of your right thigh, the outside of your right hip. Breathing in here. If you have another block, you can come all the way down onto your forearms. Maybe you don't want to block. You just want to bring your entire body down to your mat, resting your forehead on your hands. I have a hat on, so breathing here, tuning into this vulnerable space. Often we store suppressed emotions in our hips, so just noticing what's coming up for you in this moment. Getting rid of the prop if you opted for one. Placing your palms back into the mat. If you use two props, you can lift that other one right from underneath your right hip. Palms into the mat, lifting your right leg off the mat, extending it up to the sky in a three-legged dog, sole facing the sky, toes flexed. Or you can have your toes pointed, it doesn't matter, just engage them. You can take a bend at the knee and take some hip circles in one direction. Taking hip circles in the other direction. Lengthening through that right leg, flexing or pointing the toes. Lower that right knee back down to the mat to meet your left. Same thing on the other side. We're going to lift our left leg up into the sky, flexing or pointing our toes. Bring your left knee to meet your left elbow. Calf comes parallel to the top edge of your mat. Again, it's okay if it's not exactly parallel. Sliding that right leg down behind you, top of your right foot flat on the mat. Maybe placing a block underneath your left hip so they're even with one another. Walking your hands closer to your hips, softening through the elbows. Lifting your chest, pulling your chest forward, chin slightly lifted. Noticing what sensations come up. Maybe you're feeling a little different on your left side than on your right. Same options as the right pigeon. Taking a block and placing your forearms underneath or on top, or maybe just coming all the way down to the mat. Sinking deeply into your pigeon, breathing, releasing stagnant energy. Lifting yourself up out of your pigeon. Right knee lifts up off the mat, right toes curled, pressing your palms into the earth, lifting that left leg up into the sky, three-legged dog, toes flexed or pointed, bending at the knee, taking some hip circles. Taking hip circles in the other direction. Three-legged dog, Lowering your left knee down to the mat to a downward facing dog. Inhaling, lowering your knees down to the mat, tops of your feet flat on the mat. Draw your sit bones close to your heels. Torso comes perpendicular to the earth, thunderbolt pose. I like to put something soft on top of my calves underneath my sit bones in thunderbolt pose. It's just what works for me, totally optional. And we're going to ensure that we have an alignment in our spine. Again, tailbone facing the earth so that energy can flow through all the way out to the crown of our head. Shoulders relaxed. I invite you to extend your left hand up to the sky. Right arm comes out to your side, right thumb pointing towards the earth. Wrap your right arm behind your back. Bring your left fingertips to touch your right in a cow face pose. If you can't grab onto your fingertips, option to grab onto your shirt and pull to give that same stretch, or use a strap. Pressing the back of your head into your left elbow crease, keeping that alignment in your spine. Option to bend from the waist, drawing your chest closer to your mat. Coming back up if you took that forward bend, releasing your arms, wiggling out your limbs, just your arms. Left arm comes out to the left side, left thumb pointed towards the earth. Right arm extends up to the sky, wrapping your left arm behind your back. Right fingertips come to touch your left in a cow face pose. Pressing the back of your head into your right elbow crease. Spine alignment, taking that forward bend if you want. Breathing into that stretch, feeling this nice arm stretch. Noticing if this arm feels any different than the other.
I was looking for a way to make some extra money. I saw this video of a guy talking about how much money he made on DoorDash.
Releasing, coming up out of the forward bend, releasing your arms, shaking them out. Sitting in a neutral thunderbolt pose. Maybe still sitting on that prop. Noticing the alignment of your spine. Checking in with your body, feeling that breath floating through your abdomen, your chest, your lungs, and back down. And coming from our thunderbolt pose, we're gonna go ahead and lift up onto our knees, tops of the feet pressed into the mat. Bring your forearms down to the mat, interlacing your fingers, creating a tripod with your arms as we prepare for a headstand. So again, fingers interlaced into a little basket for the back of your head. Strong forearms, strong elbows pressed into the mat. Curl your toes underneath. And you're going to place the crown of your head flat on the mat, using your hands to support the back of your head, making sure not to collapse into your shoulders, but keeping strength and lengthening all the way up through the spine. Lifting your knees up off the mat, pressing deeply into your forearms. Walk your toes closer to your head, as close until you don't want to go past the point of comfort. Well, you want to leave your comfort zone a little bit, but we don't want to feel pain or put our bodies in danger, so just don't go over your limit. Remember, strong arms, strong forearms, strong shoulders, feeling that energy flowing from our soles out through the crown of our head, heels drawing close to the earth, toes spread, feet hip-width distance apart, maybe walking your toes just a little bit closer. Lower your knees down to the mat, lift your crown from the mat, pushing yourself back into a thunderbolt pose. We're gonna flip over, Grounding our sit bones into the earth. Soles of the feet flat on the mat. Lengthen your arms out in front of you, parallel to one another, palms facing each other. Roll down your spine one vertebrae at a time until your spine is flat on the mat. All parts of your spine touching the earth. And we're gonna do a shoulder stand. So you can bring your soles to face the sky, no bend in the knees. And for this, I like to press my arms into the earth, pressing my palms into the earth with using a little bit of body strength to roll my body to about right here. So my sit bones are facing the sky. Using my arms to support my lower back and sides, pressing into my forearms and elbows, lifting myself up, lengthening through my legs, pointing my toes towards the sky or flexing them towards the earth. Again, pressing in through your shoulders and your forearms, protecting your neck. Moving into plow pose, which is going to be a little hard for me because I have something in the way, but you can bring your knees to your forehead and then extend your toes behind your head. So your toes should be touching the ground. Lengthening your arms so they're flat on the mat, supporting you. Breathing here through this constriction. Still taking deep inhales and long exhales. Pressing your arms into the mat. Slowly roll your body down. Spine touching the mat. Legs lengthen into a mini Shavasana. Bring your forearms underneath your sit bones. As we move into a fish pose, pressing into your forearms and elbows, lifting up your upper body, maybe resting the top of your crown on the mat. Inhaling into your lungs and your chest, feeling that expansion in your throat, preparing you to speak your truth with confidence. Exhale, release the pose, back of your head flat on the mat, forearms come from underneath your sit bones. And we can do a bridge pose. How does that sound? So bring the soles of your feet to touch the mat, feet hip width distance apart. Spine flat on the mat. You can have your arms at your sides, maybe walking your fingertips as close to the back of your heels as possible. And pressing your soles into the mat, lift your hips and sit bones high into the air, not clenching your sit bones, but letting your legs do the work. Inhaling here, feeling the energy travel through your body. Feeling the earth beneath you, supporting your practice. Exhale, begin to lower your body back down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time, soles still making contact with the earth. Option to take a second bridge, or you could take a block or another prop, placing it right underneath your tailbone for a more restorative bridge. I'm gonna go ahead and opt for the restorative bridge just because that feels good for me right now. So just tuning in, I'm feeling sensation around my root chakra and the front of my body, like my lower abdomen. So just tuning into what sensations I experience in this restorative bridge. Breathe in here. If you took a regular bridge, you can go ahead and lower yourself down, flattening your spine on the mat. Breathing.
Be unstoppable.
Coming out of your bridge, go ahead and roll onto one side of your body. using your hands and arms to support you into a seated position. Sit bones planted into the earth, legs lengthened out in front of you, heels pressed into your mat, seated Tadasana, lengthening through the spine, chest still open, soften the joints, shoulders, knees, elbows. We're gonna do a seated forward fold pose, so you can inhale your hands up overhead, exhaling, extending from the waist, grab the outsides of your feet, pulling your chest forward and down as close to your thighs as possible. Not rounding the back, but rather creating extension through the spine. If you can't touch your feet, that's fine. You just flex your toes towards you and reach as far as you can. As long as you're lengthening through the spine. Nice. And you can have a slight bend in your knees. That also helps to touch your feet. Exhaling, coming back into a seated pose, legs lengthened. Spread your legs a little bit. So they're pointed in 45-degree angles, opposite of each other. Turn your torso so it's in front of your left leg. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, head to knee pose, maybe grabbing the outsides of your feet, drawing your chest close to your knee, pulling your chest forward. Exhaling, coming out of the pose, doing the same thing on the other side, turning your torso so it's directly on top of your right leg. Inhaling your hands up, extending from the right waist. Exhale, grabbing the outsides of your foot. Slight bend in the knee is okay if necessary. Pulling your chest forward, drawing it close to the thigh. Exhale, coming out of the pose. You can come into an easy pose, legs crossed, grounding your tailbone into the earth. We're gonna do a yogic seal to just close our practice and wrap everything together. It's a great closer, I think. So you're gonna interlace your fingers behind your back, drawing your shoulder blades down, feeling that opening across your chest, and extending from the waist. You're gonna bend your torso forward, drawing your forehead close to the earth, lifting your arms so that they come as far as perpendicular as you can to the ground as possible. This is actually as far as I can go, surprisingly. So just go as far as you can, sealing your practice, and it just looks just like this. So inhaling, drawing your torso towards the earth, lifting your arms, exhaling. You've done the yogic seal. So we can end a mini shavasana to close out our practice. So if you want to bring your legs parallel to the long edges of your mat, extending your legs out in front of you, lifting your arms so they are parallel with your legs, palms facing each other. One vertebrae at a time, roll your spine down on the mat. Arms come to your sides. Feet relax, body relaxes. Letting gravity do the work as you melt into your well-deserved shavasana. Maybe closing your eyes or softening your gaze. Letting your inhales and exhales carry you to this place of bliss. Coming back to your body. Maybe introducing some small movements to your fingers and your toes. Option to lengthen your arms so that your biceps are facing the sky, arms parallel to one another. Stretching through the whole body, giving yourself a nice good morning stretch. Breathing into those parts of the body that still may need some extra prana. With your eyes closed or your gaze still softened, rolling onto one side of your body. Taking your time, using your hands to support you into a seated posture. Sit bones grounded into the earth in your easy pose. As we complete our practice, I invite you to revisit the intention you set at the beginning, reminding yourself that you are loved and supported through this experience of life, and that you always have your mat to support and ground you. Thank you so much for practicing with me. We can take one cleansing breath, and then you're invited to join me in Om to complete our practice. So inhaling for the cleansing breath, exhaling out of the mouth, inhaling for Om. The light in me honors the light in every single one of you. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope you feel good, and you are so loved. I hope you know that.